Okay, we're going to talk about metadata. I think this is probably the most technical part of the course that we go to. I love all this stuff, but it's quite detailed, and I've written a lot. This is quite a long topic. I've written this up, so I'm going to highlight the things that I think you should be looking at. But I think this is something that is important because I think it provides that data and consistency that Google really loves, and I think this is a genuine advantage versus competition. So bear with me. Okay, so what is metadata? Metadata is essentially structured data that in the context of your website can be embedded there. It's not visible normally when you're viewing the website, but it's something that Google sees and reads. So examples are things like meta titles, meta descriptions, meta tags, which aren't used anymore, blog categories, blog tags, schema data, and EXIF data. If you're a photographer, you'll be familiar with EXIF data. So I'm going to go through these elements, and this is something that if you can improve this, if you can have this reflect on your website, it definitely is a good boost for SEO. So meta titles are things that you can see actually represented here when you type something in. I've typed in commercial photographer, award-winning commercial photographer or something in there, and you can set those in WordPress or Squarespace or Wix, and the purpose of that is to basically make the page content really clear, and also try and encourage people to click through the listing. So when you set up your meta titles, I would typically keep it really simple. I tend to follow this format, which is target keyword and qualifier. So if I was targeting drone operator, I would have it on the left, and then I would have experienced pilot or award-winning or professional or something on the right-hand side. If it was pets, or weddings or whatever it is, on the left-hand side I would have your keyword. On the right-hand side I would have a reason for you to click through. If you're on just like your about page or something, I would just do something like about and then Simon Hogben Photography, or contact and Simon Hogben Photography. I think there are certain pages you want to keyword and focus on. The rest of them want to be really simple. But again, it's all about user experience. So this meta title should say what the page is about. So again, don't spam it. You're really looking to have 60 or so characters on this. Don't fill it with 500 and name every location you're in. You want to focus it on that one page. Google needs to know, and the person viewing this in the search results needs to know that this is what the page is all about. And on your home page, again, don't spam it with keywords. I would focus the home page on your brand, really. So I always have Simon Hogben Photography and then just general description. So it could be UK commercial photographer, could be Northeast, or it could be whatever you want it to be. But I would make sure that your home page is all about your brand, and I would lead with your brand at the start. Sometimes Google, if you don't put the brand in, will actually change this on your behalf and put it in for you or rearrange it. But your home page is about your brand, so please don't keyword spam it or think you're doing anything that's going to give you any benefit. Just keep it focused on the brand on your home page. Next thing is meta descriptions. So they can also be added in Squarespace or WordPress or anything else. The guidance is to have an optimized one that is maybe 160 characters long, and you can put in something that says, Northeast-based commercial photographer Simon Hogben provides services such as virtual tours and drone services across Yorkshire. Contact me today, or something like that. Something that's simple with a call to action and encourages people to give you a call, click through, or just leave it blank. And actually, increasingly, something I'm doing on my content pages is just leaving meta descriptions blank. So if it's a home page, if it's an about page, if it's a contact page, I'll fill it in. If it's a page with a lot of content, I'll just leave it blank, and then I'll let Google decide what it's going to put in instead. So it's up to you. If you put in something like this, here we go, Shropshire wedding photographer John Smith covers weddings across the county, get in touch. That's classic. That's going to work, and SEO tools will tell you that's good, and it is good. For my approach on content, I just leave them blank and let Google decide, but it's completely up to you, whichever way you go. I would have something written in there if it's a contact page. If you don't have much contact, there's not much for people to choose from. Meta tags are something that are not used anymore. If somebody asks you to put in some meta tags into a website, just ignore it. Blog categories are a useful way to organise posts. So if you want to, actually in Squarespace, but WordPress, whatever, if you want to say, I'm going to have a blog post and it's all going to be about wedding photography or commercial photography or whatever else, you can categorise them and then you can make them display just those blog posts. So I've got part of my blog is going to be about photographers. So I've got 4 photographers, I've got latest news, I've got commercial photography, I've got drone, whatever. So categorise it in those ways. Blog tags, people do recommend using these. I believe there isn't any value in them, so I would just leave them. I think they, on certain websites, just add duplicate pages and thin content pages and everything else. So blog tags, I tend to leave them. I would just use blog categories. I'd have one category per post and keep it simple. Okay, schema data is really important and really useful. It's a little bit complicated to install, can be, unless you've got a plugin for WordPress, but basically schema is structured data that Google can easily read that's embedded into the back of a website. So there's lots of different types of schema data. The one that you will invariably want to use is called local business schema, and that has data all about your website, so your URL, business name, address, phone number, opening hours, price range, the sort of information that a local business might have. If you embed that data in your website, Google can see it straight away. Even has the coordinates of the business as well, and your social media profiles. So it gets a really good idea that you are a credible, trusted business. And obviously, all the stuff we're trying to do is to make sure that Google knows that our website is trusted, expert, and has authority. So schema is a very good thing to add to your website. So how can you add it? Well, something like Squarespace doesn't support a schema plugin, so you have to go to a website like this, which I'll put a link in. You create the code and then you go and add it as code into the header or footer of your website. You can use a plugin and add the information there, or if you're using something like SEO Press, which is the plugin I recommend, that actually generates the schema for you, so you don't need to generate it manually using this link. It actually handles all part of it. So I would definitely recommend a local schema as an important part of the business, the setup of your website. So EXIF data is also something that's going to be familiar with photographers, and it includes lots of stuff like shutter speed, aperture, but also includes things like the location where the image was actually taken, and also things like copyright owner and phone number and stuff like that. On the basis that Google loves data and anything that goes on your website, Google's going to read, I would keep the data, EXIF data in, and you can even change it and edit it to optimize it for your website. So I use something called Photo Mechanic, which many people will be familiar with, which is a way of going into categorize, rename, or change the data on images. So if I was going to be bulk uploading loaded photos, I could use Photo Mechanic to change things like change the file name or the IPTC data, adult tags, etc., etc. I can also even embed the geo coordinates. So any opportunity you have to keep and add data to images, that's a great process to go through. So there's more stuff written up in here. Definitely take a look at Photo Mechanic and look at the things here that you can do to add data. So in terms of an action step, once you've done those things, you can test the schema using a tool called Google's Rich Test Results. You click on that link, enter your own data, your own URL rather, you'll be able to see, and it'll provide some green ticks to show that your schema has been implemented or not. Okay.